32-year-old Deanna Antoinette Cooke was the oldest of 4 sisters and always had big dreams. She wanted to be a star. Her family said she was confident, the leader of the pack, always on a level 10 and always the centre of attention. Her mum Vicky laughed she met no strangers, was the life of the party, and had a lot of energy but in the best way possible. Deanna was sporty and had been a track star as a child, setting records. She loved animals, being with her family, and her 2 daughters, Anicia and Anaya. After 2 divorces, she'd thrown herself into work, moving house, and was also trying to write a book. Vicky said although the area of Dallas they lived in definitely had its rougher parts, and crime rates were high, Deanna had worked hard to move onto a lovely street full of growing families. Kids outside on their bikes, lots of trees and flowers in the front gardens, doors wide open, and everyone knew everyone. Her new home had a pool and each of her daughters had their own room. It was very different to what they'd had before, but the change was welcomed and well deserved. Her daughters said it felt like a castle. Deanna finally felt like this was where they would all be settled and safe, and focus on the good things. August 17th, 2012 was a Friday. Deanna called her mom a minimum of twice a day. They spoke over the phone that morning at 6:30 as part of their prayer group. As Deanna hung up, she said, "Bye, Mama," and Vicky replied, "Goodbye, Deanna." Vicky said she didn't know why she said it like that. She never said goodbye, it was always, "See you later." Deanna's second call to her mum would be at 10 a.m. as she was on her way to work at the car dealership. But Vicky's phone never rang. It got to 1 p.m. and Deanna's daughters, who were staying with their aunt, were expecting their mum to drop off some money. Her daughter was getting her hair done for school, but Deanna was a no-show. Soon it was Sunday, August 19th. She didn't turn up to a church service. The family worshipped together every week, and with no word from Deanna, her mum Vicky was now really panicking. After the service, Vicky grabbed her daughter Carlitha along with Anicia and Anaya, and they all went to her house. 1:35 p.m. As soon as they got to her home, they saw running water coming out from underneath the garage door. So much so it was trickling onto the street and down the road. They heard her dog barking, and close to the door, there was a dreadful smell. Vicky called the police right away, and the response they got shocked them.
Dallas, my daughter has been missing since Friday.
How old is your daughter?
She is 32.
Okay, have you called all the jails and hospitals?
She was told that police had actually been at Deanna's house on the 17th due to a call that had come from inside the house, but no one had answered the door. This was the same day she had gone missing. If this was now the case, Vicky begged for someone to come out and help them get into the house, but the response was no.
I don't know what they came out there for, but we came out there.
On the 17th.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that was just a couple of days ago. And Deanna's been missing since the 17th.
You think somebody did something to her?
Yes, I do.
You're refusing to call the jail?
No, I just wanted the officers here to help us get in the house.
Police can help you get in the house.
Ma'am, can you just send the police over here?
No, ma'am. You have to do this first.
Not satisfied at all with 911, Carlitha told her mom to stand back. She was going to kick the door in. With people you're close to, you just know when you know. You know your loved ones, and you know when something isn't right.
We got it in.
Okay, let me know if she's inside.
Once the back door was open, the smell was even more intense. Carlitha hesitated, scared of going any further. The floor of the house was flooded, but Anicia was banging at the front door, and once Carlitha and Vicky opened it for her, she fearlessly marched in and everyone followed in a single line. Deanna's house was filled with water, and in some parts it was going up to their ankles.
Full of water all over the floor.
Vicky was still on the phone to 911 as they waded their way through. It was a total mess and some of the doors had been damaged. It was imperative that authorities come right now. Deanna's bedroom had an ensuite bathroom. This had to be the source of all the water. Vicky pushed her bedroom door open and it literally fell off its hinges. Her room was trashed. And in the bathroom, they found Deanna.
Something happened in here. Her room is tore up.
Okay, ma'am, I'm sending police. I need everybody back outside. Okay? What is it? Miss Cook, did you find her? Miss Cook? Miss Cook?
She was floating face down in her tub, the tap still running. She was wearing only her underwear. Some of the water around her had turned red from blood. Carlitha ran to turn the taps off, but Vicky pulled her back. Don't touch anything. This was a crime scene. Vicky was beside herself and said all she could do was lean on God to give her the strength not to take her own life. They could all tell from her skin that she had been dumped into scalding hot water. So hot her skin was literally peeling off. Her face was bloated, disfigured and burnt. It was obvious that she had been dead for some days. Her body was so bloated and decomposing that a cause of death was hard to determine. But eventually they were able to find that she had been strangled to death. As her body was taken away and the hunt for her killer began, it did not take long for the dots to start connecting. As soon as her mom Vicky found her daughter, she had started screaming, "He did it. He said he was going to do it, and he did it." Carlitha agreed. They knew right away who had done this. Deanna's ex-husband, 35-year-old Delvecchio Patrick. Delvecchio had been around years and their relationship had been terrible from the beginning. They had married in 2008 and Vicky said there were red flags from the start, but when he proposed, Deanna said yes. She believed she could help him and make him a better man. But he really was the worst of the worst, and he was regularly in and out of jail cells. Deanna filed for divorce and eventually got a restraining order, but it changed nothing. He still found her, harassed her, abused her, and threatened to kill her. One time he had to be tasered by police mid-attack. Vicky said he had threatened to kill everyone, Deanna, her daughters, even her. He had so much hatred for everyone in her life. But even as much as her family had seen and heard, they said there was still more to her story than they knew. She had moved multiple times trying to get away from him, but he had always found her. She was understandably getting increasingly frustrated at the police's lack of support. Just 3 days before she was killed, she was posting to social media about a stalker and her fears of having her house broken into.
Dallas 911, this is Pat. What's your emergency?
I have a stalker. He's been out here in his house all day long. He's been out here across the street watching my house. I don't know what his plan is. You can look up my name, you can see it's 100,000, about 1,000 complaints. But ain't nobody doing nothing. And then he's already tried to kill me 3 times, so I'm really just really fed up with this. I can't keep moving and changing my life because of this.
And as her family sat in the police station trying to get answers, in the adjoining room, they could hear a tape playing. It was Deanna's final call to the police, 2 days before she was found, and what they would now realise were the last few moments of her life, the same call the operator had referenced when Vicky called them. To say this call was haunting would be an understatement, and the full thing has not been released. It was over 10 minutes long, and captured the entire ordeal. Before we go any further, we need to give a content warning. In a moment, you'll hear a short excerpt from the 911 call. It is deeply distressing. We don't include this for shock value, and we want to be very clear about that. We're including it because it adds crucial context to what happens next. It shows in her own voice just how desperately she tried to get help. So if you need to pause or skip this section, please do. You can skip ahead by 1 minute.
Dallas 911, this is Tanita. What is your emergency?
Okay, what's your address? Hello? Hey, police fire ambulance. I'm going to need an address.
Hello? I need an address. Hello?
During the call, Deanna had first identified Delvecchio by his nickname, Red, and then by his full name, which she said multiple times. She was screaming for help from the start and trying to fight him off as he started beating and choking her. He mocked her, asking her where the police were as she begged for her life.
We're the police.
No, why you keep my daughter, Red? Please.
He then told her point blank he was going to kill her. The call captured her gasping for air along with the sounds of water and bubbling noises, as if her head was under the water. The line then goes silent for 15 long minutes, and all that could be heard was her dog barking in the background. Because Deanna called on her cell phone and not her house phone, it was harder to locate her address. But nonetheless, the call was logged as a priority 2, which is lower priority, and it took almost an hour for the officers to respond to the house. When they arrived, they knocked and did a quick check of the outside, but with no one answering the door, they left. They said later they did not receive the critical information they needed, and the full extent of the call was not relayed. In fact, on their way to the house, the officer's car stopped twice. Once to check a burglar alarm, and the other to get some bottles of water from a 7-Eleven. But the vast amount of times Deanna had called the police before this, the things that were logged in the system, it just seemed frankly baffling and inexcusable that this didn't flag instantly. He was charged with first-degree murder, pleaded not guilty, and chose not to testify himself.
It's been a 2.5-year wait for justice. Jury selection begins tomorrow in the murder trial of Delvecchio Patrick.
And Heather, this trial has already been delayed several times, prolonging closure for Deanna Cooke's family. They say Delvecchio Patrick is dead to them, but they still want him prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Still, they know their message goes beyond a verdict. Her sisters hope that her story will rescue other women from domestic violence.
Silence is not golden.
Deanna Cooke's voice lives on 2.5 years after her last breath.
That she's here with all of us, and she is beckoning you to make a difference.
2 days later, her mother called 911 requesting a welfare check, but the operator told her to call the jail and hospitals instead. They did find her. After kicking in her front door, she was lying dead in her bathtub.
What we experienced was horrible, and what we have to live on a daily basis through the memories, that's horrible. But at the same time, I'm glad that a light was shined on this situation so that the changes could be made in the system.
That 911 operator was later fired, 2 others reprimanded, and the city of Dallas overhauled its 911 operations and hired more call takers after Cooke's murder. It also helped spawn Mayor Mike Rawlings' campaign to end domestic abuse.
Amen.
On the eve of her trial, family and friends released balloons in her honor. When I asked what her sister wanted to say to Delvecchio Patrick,
I have no energy for him.
Valicia Battle chose not to listen to her sister's 911 calls, but she wants the jury to hear every single word.
I think that's a necessity to understand exactly what was going on and exactly what the dispatch heard and exactly what was happening at that moment and what allowed police officers to stop and get Sprite instead of hurrying to this instant and to quench your thirst instead of saving a life.
Delvecchio Patrick has an extensive criminal history, including assault, aggravated robbery, drug possession, and resisting arrest. He now faces life in prison. Heather?
All right, Calvert Collins live tonight. Thank you.
While preparing for the trial, the prosecution decided to mention things that they knew the defendant would bring up themselves, including Deanna's history with substances and the one time she had defended herself against him. The judge at the time agreed that this was self-defense and Deanna was acquitted, but they wanted to bring everything up in case and get ahead of every possible narrative the defense might try to spin. While awaiting trial, Delvecchio got a tattoo on his leg. The prosecution said there was no other way to take this. The tattoo showed a woman that appeared to be Deanna, surrounded by flames and screaming, a depiction of her in the scalding bath as she fought for her life. However, defense attorneys argued that the tattoo depicted a rap artist.
Hello and good evening. The murder trial of a man named Delvecchio Patrick opened today in Dallas with some gut-wrenching testimony.
When Carlita kicked the door in, the smell hit her and she just turned and ran. And I went in and the water, like it was so high, it was covering my feet.
Vicky Cooke made her way through the house to the bedroom and then opened the door to Deanna's bathroom.
I saw like a shadow. A shadow behind the curtain, and I started screaming because it was her, and the water was still running. The water was still running, and I just said, "He killed her." He said he was gonna do it, and he did it. He did it.
People in the gallery were crying as Vicky Cooke gave her anguished testimony. Judge Brandon Birmingham called for a recess. Delvecchio Patrick sat, showing no reaction to what she described.
Defense attorney Roger Lennox asked for his client to be found not guilty, and they blamed Deanna's death on herself. He claimed that she was hallucinating on the 911 call because of drug use and mental illness. She had died from being unconscious in the bath. A forensic toxicologist testified that she had PCP in her system when she died. His lawyer said it's reasonable doubt because this 911 call is inconsistent with the physical evidence, and it demonstrates that Deanna Cooke was out of touch with reality. A forensic psychologist, Christy Compton, completed what she called a psychological autopsy on Deanna. It showed that she had been treated in the past for bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, mood disorder, and drug abuse. She said there's a range of conditions that Miss Cooke exhibited, and that led to a host of behaviours and lifestyle choices, and sometimes erratic behaviours that were self-destructive. She testified that a person on PCP can hallucinate and think they were attacked. However, under cross-examination, she said she saw nothing indicating Deanna was delusional or hallucinating during her call to 911. Assistant District Attorney Trey Stock was having none of it, and it was frankly awful to place any blame on Deanna herself. He said the idea she is hallucinating, her husband saying multiple times, "I'm going to kill you, I'm going to kill you," is preposterous. She didn't hallucinate that. I heard it, you heard it, Delvecchio heard it, and he said it. And for every witness the defense called and every attempt they made to put everything on Deanna, the prosecution had more up their sleeve. Countless people sat on the stand and told the court about everything they had personally witnessed Delvecchio doing to Deanna over the years. They also called a former Dallas County Jail employee who testified that she had heard him tell another inmate he had killed Deanna. He sat emotionless throughout the whole trial. He looked bored, as if this was a total inconvenience to him. Even as the awful 911 call played out, and Vicky sat on the stand glaring at him, he had no reaction at all.
Well, we did not hear from Delvecchio Patrick from the witness stand, first off. That's his right, nothing to read into that. But we did hear from a fellow inmate today and that jail nurse, one who says Patrick admitted to killing Deanna Cooke, another who says they never heard that.
And then Mr. Patrick said, "I did." And Mr. Stoker kind of looked at him and he said, "I killed that."
After a difficult week, the verdict was in.
Out of Dallas, a guilty verdict in the high-profile Dallas murder case. Delvecchio Patrick now faces a life sentence after the jury convicted him in the murder of his ex-wife, Deanna Cooke.
3 hours and 20 minutes, jurors deliberated before returning that guilty verdict. There was a lot of emotion in the courtroom, but the judge admonished everyone not to cry out, not to scream, not to react in any way when the verdict was read. And as soon as that guilty verdict was pronounced, people began spilling out into the hallway, and as you can imagine, the emotion spilled out there as well.
The family's excited as well as myself, and we're excited to see what's going to happen on Tuesday so this family can get closure. It's been a
He was found guilty of murder, and the official ruling was homicidal violence, including drowning. It was now onto the punishment phase, and prosecutors asked for a life sentence, whereas his defense team suggested he should get as little as 5 years. His mother, Tony, said that her son had 2 young children of his own. He has a family that really loves him and a close-knit family. He has a father that's got very bad health problems, and I wish you would have mercy and lenience on my son Delvecchio Patrick, she said.
Assess his punishment at confinement in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Criminal Justice for 85 years.
After breaking news at this half hour, a verdict in the sentencing phase of the Delvecchio Patrick murder trial.
You'll remember he was found guilty of killing his ex-wife last week, and now we know how long he will serve. Ken Kaltoff has been following this trial from the very beginning. Ken, what do you have?
Prosecutors wanted a life sentence here. The ex-husband's lawyers suggested as little as 5 years, and so the victim's relatives are pleased tonight with a long 85 years, especially after this.
Delvecchio Patrick was sentenced to 85 years in prison, which, although is not life, it was damn near close enough. He will be eligible for parole age 65. Whether he will have it Well, that remains to be seen. As Deanna's daughters gave their statement, he laughed and even put his middle finger up at them before heading back to his cell. Vicky said he's a person with no feelings, no soul, no conscience, like he was born of the devil. Former prosecutor Heath Harris said Delvecchio was as close to the devil as you could get. I've prosecuted the worst of the worst, and I've defended the worst of the worst. And I will tell you, he is one of the worst of the worst. We hope that if ever we need to lean on the system, we will be able to. But sometimes you learn of a case that highlights such failings, it makes you question what that might look like. This is one of those tragedies that must have left her loved ones with such a deep distrust in said systems that will likely stay with them for the rest of their lives. Police in Dallas launched an internal investigation almost immediately after her murder. The district attorney's office and law enforcement historically partner to get to the root cause of the failures and to stop it from happening again. But in this case, they did not. And her family launched a wrongful death lawsuit against the city of Dallas and the police department. As for the call itself, for 9 minutes you could hear the sounds of the violent struggle. Once the operator determined her address, it is alleged that she sent an updated report to the dispatchers, adding the word urgent in there. By this point, it was 10 minutes into the call. The lawsuit alleges that responding officers made 2 stops along their way to her home to check on the burglar alarm and to stop at 7-Eleven. They also arrived 50 minutes after Deanna first called 911. The operator later said, "For a brief moment, I did wonder why the call hadn't been dispatched, but I just thought they were busy. I didn't refuse to send police, I did what I was trained to do." They said they knocked, but they heard nothing. The blinds were down, and they could hear a dog barking. The suit states that the officers did not go round to the back of the house, did not look through all of the windows, and never attempted to forcibly gain entry into her home. "We assume she had either left the location or was not answering the door for us," the officer said. Vicky said if they knew the house they were going to had flagged so many times, and if they hadn't had stopped to get a drink on the way, who knows. The officers had arrived knowing only that they were responding to a domestic disturbance call. Very few details had been provided, and the operator reportedly never said that Deanna was in the middle of being attacked. The filing also alleges discrimination. Deanna's sister said, "Your race does play a role, your gender does play a role." Would they have stopped at 7-Eleven if it had been someone in Highland Park? In 2019, US District Judge David C. Godby issued a final order dismissing all claims against the city and its employees. The US Supreme Court declined to hear an appeal. After the investigation, Chief Brown later found the 911 operator to blame for failing to enter critical information into the report, and despite several supervisors' recommendations she be given no discipline, the operator was given a 10-day suspension, which she protested, insisting she had done her job to the best of her abilities. Tonyita Hopkins was the operator that answered Deanna's call, and she broke her silence in an interview. She spoke of a 911 call centre that was short-staffed and overwhelmed.
They blamed you. They said Deanna Cooke died because of a botched 911 call that was mishandled by you.
I didn't blame people for thinking that because they don't know all the information. At the end of the day, somebody lost a daughter, a mother, and a sister. That was what was important to me.
You pick up that first call.
And the first call is that call.
Deanna called from a cell phone, so Tanita didn't have an exact address, only a street name, Crimson Court. She sent that to the dispatcher, as well as the code for domestic violence.
When the dispatcher sees that note, they're supposed to then what?
According to the training, they should be dispatching within 3 minutes.
That's how it's supposed to work.
That's how it's supposed to work.
Believing officers were on the way, Tanita kept looking for an exact address. She found a match in the system because Deanna had called 911 before.
Once I found the address, I was very relieved, and I was thinking, okay, she'll get the help she needs.
9 minutes into the call, Tanita sent the house number to the dispatcher along with the word urgent.
Urgent.
I typed in urgent, and I typed address updated, and still hear disturbance in the background, something to that effect.
It's painful to listen to. You hear a woman who sounds like she's struggling for her life. And the obvious question is, how could you not stand up and scream and say, hey, I got to get somebody to this person right now?
I didn't hear it. If I heard as much as you're saying, then I would have.
Did you hear Deanna choking?
No.
The operator that took Vicky's call on the day she found her daughter was fired. Mayor Mike Rawlins made combating domestic violence a mission, launching a citywide campaign against it.
And then our safety net wasn't there for her.
He said we all failed her. The system failed her. The neighbours next door failed her. The media failed her. The mayor failed her. According to the Dallas 911 Centre, they have undergone some changes, including increasing staff and treating domestic violence cases more seriously and making them a higher priority. A statement from them says the improvements made to our current 911 system have resulted in our service level exceeding the National Emergency Number Association's recommendation standard that 90% of all incoming 911 calls be answered in 10 seconds or less. The average answer time is currently 3 seconds.
Hi, my name is Anaya Williams. And I'm Anicia Williams. Our mother is Deanna Cooke, who died from domestic violence in 2012 on August 17th. But now at the age of 16 and my sister being 18, we have came a long way in being strong for each other.
Now I'm getting ready to graduate high school, and I'm going to attend a four-year university here in Texas.
I have been keeping my mind focused on my studies with AP classes and with sports. We have not given up. We have started a nonprofit organization called Deanna's Voice, so we can use our mother's voice to save other victims.
To hear the rest of her story, please visit deannasvoice.org.
Deanna's family created a non-profit foundation in her name called Deanna's Voice, and when she was killed, the hashtag Deanna's Voice spread across social media. The foundation holds events, they have a scholarship fund, and they run a program called Breaking the Barriers, which supports families in a similar situation to what they found themselves in. Anaya is now a professional volleyball player overseas, and said her mother's strength and perseverance will always push her. Deanna's sister Carletha said, "We want this not to happen to any other family. We want to educate our nieces and other young women on what a healthy relationship is, so that's our focus right now. When you say her name, especially in the city, people remember who she is, and that's important to me. We lost our foundation, we lost our strength. It broke us as a family, and we're still trying to get it together." When asked what Vicky would say to Delvecchio if she could, she replied, "I hate that you did what you did, but I forgive you, because I can't make it to heaven with hatred of you in my heart. I never thought I would live to see my kids die. I thought they would bury me, but that wasn't the plan God had."